The way I like to explain what we do is, in Kaneohe Bay here, in every milliliter of seawater, which is like a little tiny cube of seawater, right? There's 1 million microbial cells floating and living in that seawater. So those cells, about half of them are taking carbon dioxide and fixing that carbon dioxide just like plants and producing oxygen. And actually, globally, about half of our oxygen comes from those tiny cells in seawater. Now, the other half of them are then taking the inputs from, coastal areas. They're taking organic carbon inputs, and then they're recycling that, just like we recycle as like heterotrophs. We eat, they eat also, and they produce carbon dioxide. So really, the balance of these microorganisms really controls kind of the health of the ocean globally. For me out here, this is just kind of like a microcosm, right? So for me out here, there's people that study whales, there's people that study coral reefs, which are all super important. And just the fact that microorganisms you can't just walk outside and see. They don't have furry little coats or do really cool and impressive things in the water that you can visually see. What fuels me is like we are still in what feels like a constant state of discovery, like discovering brand new things about what's going on in the oceans and with microbes in the oceans. One thing we discovered is that one of the most abundant groups, known as SAR86, random name I know, really like degrades compounds that we would have never anticipated would be abundant enough in seawater to be a source for them to grow on. And there's a group of them that have this beautiful pathway for degrading steroidal compounds. And there's some corals that inside their tissue contain these aggregates of microbial cells. And they've been observed for a long time, but they're not really well understood at all why the coral does it, what purpose they serve. Except in Hawaii, it does look like the corals lose those aggregates when they're diseased. So there does appear to be a connection with coral health. The microorganisms that we study will be here no matter if we aren't. They're providing the foundation for this ecosystem, and there will always be microorganisms providing the foundation for the ecosystem, even if we change that ecosystem so drastically that it won't support us. And so if we want a resilient island economy and we want some food security and water security, particularly here as an island state, where those resources they present some really different challenges than a lot of places, most places on the continental US, right? We absolutely have to take a microbial perspective. Otherwise, it's like slapping a Band-Aid on a wound when at the very base is where the problems may lie.